Councilman Baer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will try and be brief after I was so rudely cut off earlier by someone who spoke 9 minutes earlier in the meeting. Sir?
You only got 3 minutes. I'm just joking.
Thank you. So many notes. I appreciate everyone who's come here. Melanie, my heart goes out to you for all you've been through. Some of the things that have been said about you that we've talked about, it's unconscionable. I'm very, very disappointed in how this has come out. First of all, we started off this meeting with an apology, you could call it that, and it was just an out-of-order thing, and I'm really unhappy about the way that went down. But I also wanted to clear the air about one thing. I pulled 2 policies, both of these. One of them is Department of Defense, one is Navy, the naval policy. These are from the chief information officers of both those groups, the DOD and the Navy. And it says that authorized purposes for using email for business other than government business include brief communications made by DOD employees while they are traveling on government business to notify family members of official transportation or schedule changes. Also include personal communications from the DOD employee's usual workplace that are most reasonably made while at the workplace, such as checking in with spouse, children, blah, blah. And it also says in this that it is under the discretion of the supervisor. And that was in both the policies. And so I think in this case, this is a minor issue, I think, of the total picture. On Monday, I provided a 4-page council memorandum that detailed just about everything that I gave council tonight. It's ironic that I'm getting chastised for providing that. I was just trying to give them an actual document for what I was reading to them. And I'm sorry that was misinterpreted as trying to cast too much information. But clearly a vote of no confidence to me means more than one incident. It means a pattern of behavior. My fellow councilman, Councilman Wingate, hit the nail on the head. That's one of my other questions. I have 19 questions that I'd love to ask Eric Olson. And once we get this power of inquiry, I plan on doing that because I think there are some things we need to clear up. I've got 9 for the mayor, too, which I won't. He did answer a couple tonight. But, at the top of my list has to do with this issue with Lumen and Timothy May and how that was dealt with, how someone who manages the police department on a day-to-day basis had no idea how that video got released. That's a real problem to me. This whole issue of no confidence and whether we can do it and who he works for and all this stuff. I mean, the faculty senate at UWF voted no confidence in their president. The faculty senate at Pensacola State College voted no confidence in their president. They can't do anything about that. They don't hire and fire. It's the board of trustees that do that. This is a message that we send that we do not agree with the job this person is doing. It is unfortunate that we've had to sit here for this long to finally get to this item, but I'm glad we had this discussion. I'm glad all of you stayed so we could have this discussion. We're lost, this whole idea of no confidence has been lost in the minutia of one behavior, which it's a heinous behavior, I think, what Mr. Olson did to Melanie Nichols and calling her supervisor. But there's some huge irony in here when the mayor said personal attacks of Eric Olson. This mayor employs people on contract that have maliciously and personally attacked me, Councilwoman Myers, Councilman Wingate, my family, and he continues to pay them. It makes me sick some days to think about the fact that I work in the same building with the mayor because of that.
Not a strong mayor, a strong arm mayor, don't you know?
Now, I respect Mr. Olson's service in the military. I served in the military. A lot of us did. Councilman Wingate, Councilwoman Wynn did. There's several of you in the audience that have said that you did. But the reason I ran for office, and if you remember any of the things I said, was to serve and to empower neighborhood associations and to get citizens more involved in government. And what Mr. Olson has done, and what he continues to do, is create an environment that is not welcoming to neighborhood associations, not welcoming to citizen input. And as I said earlier, I believe that his definition of public service is wrong. And I actually would like to make a substitute motion and to be in line with what the city attorney was saying, I would move that this council send a vote of no confidence to the mayor So that's my motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. All right,
And I don't think I need to speak any more on my motion. I think it's pretty clear.
Councilwoman Myers?
Well, I think I can actually support that motion, as I think it conforms with the charter.
I believe that this issue, the reason, and I appreciate the city attorney, and actually Mr. Wells and I have talked about some, process and things, but not necessarily this particular process, but just how this should be done. And, clearly, when I wrote this, it was not exactly what I probably should have written, because I was following somebody else's template. And ultimately, we cannot tell Mr. Olson that we have no confidence. We have to tell the mayor, and that's where it needs to go anyway, because if we don't have confidence in an employee, just like if the faculty senate doesn't have confidence in an employee, that likely they send it to the board of trustees, which in this case, the council would rightly send it to the mayor. And again, he's already said he's not going to do anything with it, but ultimately, I think you've heard from the citizens, Mr. Mayor, that they are not happy. And it's up to you now, if we do this, if we send this to you. But I'm asking my fellow council, what I have put in this document, the one I gave you tonight, and also what was in the council memorandum, is more than just one incident. It's a pattern. It's someone who I believe is not fit for that job. I think that the mayor should have done a search. I think he would have looked like we did at someone that had more local government experience. And I do not agree that this is a public lynching. I think, Council President, you said that on the radio. I wrote that down, was one of the things that you said, that you didn't want this to be a public lynching. And that was not my intent. And some of you may say that it was, but I think anyone who has witnessed or heard about or watched a video of a public lynching would think this was far from it. And there's nothing like that. But this is about the citizens, the people that came here, and I believe, Council President and Mr. Mayor, that you need to do something about this, and discipline is what we need to be doing. Thank you.
So we are voting on the amendment. Can you state it one more time? Just.
The original was
To discuss
the
it.
city council send a vote of no confidence to the mayor for City Administrator Eric Olson.
All right, please vote. Motion fails 4-4.